Hello, my Crystal Loves Texas Facebook and YouTube family. We're a little bit late going on, but it's going to be worth the wait, I promise. Thank you, Rebecca, my wonderful, wonderful sidekick, for always being here.
Hey, Facebook family, what's going on?
Did you have a good week?
I did. It was work.
Very, very good, y'all. It's getting hot again in Houston. This is, and I said I wasn't gonna use my powder puff, but I think I will.
No,
Okay.
no, we have too many people watching.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We're live, and they know us by now. Okay, but you guys have been waiting for this for a while because guess who's back in the house? It's the wonderful Houston Ebony Opera Guild. And we keep saying we're going to get a clap track. But this is our clap track for right now. We have got the wonderful, wonderful Houston Ebony Opera Guild members and the friends of the Houston Ebony Opera Guild who are here today with us. And they are going to tell us about the extraordinary African American Black History Month program that's coming up this year. And there's always a wonderful theme. And we've got Dr. Jason Obi, and he's going to introduce himself and the other members of the Opera Guild and friends of the Guild who are here with us today. One of them happens to be my cousin. Say hi, Patricia. Patricia Gregory. Dr. Obi, tell us who's here with us today.
Well, I'm Jason Obi. I am the Artistic Director of the Houston Ebony Art Guild. And with us today is, first of all, wonderful Patricia Gregory, who is a member of the Board of Directors and does so much as one of our wonderful, gifted, and energetic volunteers.
Absolutely.
One of our singers, who I'm going to let Jasmine, who I'm going to let Ashton Jones introduce. And of course, Ashton Jones, who is a TSU grad, a recent alumni, our new TSU choir director.
Awesome. Yes, that's awesome.
And our guest conductor for this concert.
Very, very good. So, and Ashton is going to introduce
Jasmine.
Yes.
So tell us, you know, Rebecca's going to open up what we're going to ask you guys about. But one thing I have to tell you, Dr. Obi, is that whenever you come, I love to see the variety of talent that you bring with you. You've got all of the age ranges of performers, all demographics of performers as far as males and females, and it's wonderful, which makes us know that the Opera Guild is so inclusive of everybody. There's nobody too young, too old.
I think that's very true.
Yes.
Among our regular group, and including as soloists, we have people like Dorcille Duckins, who we have to always mention. Dorcille was a founding member of the group and worked with the founder of our group. And we have young singers like Jasmine, who started with us to sing regularly. So I think the group, just as you suggest, is a very diverse group in terms of age. We are multi-generational.
Yes.
And we have people who are newly out of college and young professionals, as well as people who are now into their 70s, and they sing happily alongside each other, and they do a fantastic job.
Awesome.
So it's a wonderful opportunity for people to participate. It requires some musical training and background, and certainly a level of talent, but nothing is barring participation from people. We also have some singers who are not African American who participate.
Yes.
So in other words, you can only join if you have talent. So you have no talent, no more than stopping by.
Hopefully you have talent in something. Not everybody can sit on the stage. Some people have to be behind the stage. That's supporting.
That's
With
right.
their energy, philanthropy looks a lot of different ways.
Yes.
It can be writing a check. It can be ushering. It can be selling tickets. It can be being in the audience and loving what's going on and being a cheerleader from the sidelines.
Well, our audience know I'm very blunt, so I'm gonna translate that. If you cannot sing, this is not your ministry.
Well, but like Dr. Obi has told us before, we gotta be very, very transparent.
Mhm.
He said that if you have a heart for performance and the opera and the arts, there's a place for you with the guild. They can find somewhere where you are going to be.
To fit you in.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Now, with that with that in mind, I always have to get Dr. Obi to tell his story because his story of how he became involved in opera is just it's remarkable. And then I want to kind of get an idea of how some of the other performers and talent became involved too. Now, you're a young man, you're a young woman. I know that when y'all were in middle school, I'm a middle school teacher. She's a middle school teacher. Opera is not the kind of thing that y'all's peers are listening to.
Right. It's true.
So, Dr. Obi, I'm going to start with you. Tell us the Reader's Digest condensed version of how you became involved in opera specifically, and how that led you to the guild.
Well, I have to go back to high school briefly. I was an art major. I was going to be a painter.
Mhm.
And in fact, when I went to college at Loyola University, New Orleans,
Mhm.
art was my initial major. And the high school that I went to was sort of like an HSPVA style school.
Okay.
And art was my major there. I ran out of credits in high school, meaning that I took all of my required courses,
Right.
but at that time they would not let you go early. You had to take
Yeah.
something that stayed in school.
Yeah.
But because, and I'm jokingly embarrassed about this, because I didn't want to go past algebra.
Okay.
I said, let me take some music courses, right? And so
I know the
got
feeling about that. Yes.
involved in foreign languages and, began to win contests reciting French poetry and stuff and sang in the choir and I took piano lessons. And also my church was very influential. I was raised in the AME church.
Okay.
And there was a man, I speak his name, by the name of B.J. Wales.
Okay.
And Mr. Wales and his wife were very charming people, and they would invite me to their home for dinner after church and so forth. And he sang in the choir with me, and they told me, or he told me, that he had performed with the Negro Opera Company of Detroit.
Wow.
Now, at that time, he was 80 years old, 80
Wow.
something.
Wow.
And we're talking now 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And he would talk to me about singing and how to sing and all that. This was high school years. Then I went off to college, trying to get an art scholarship. I did not get an art scholarship, but I got a music scholarship to participate in.
Wow.
And that took my excitement and my energy, captured my imagination.
Okay.
And from there, I ended up at Manhattan School of Music in New York City, where I finished my bachelor's and my master's degree. And, I was off to the races then. After I did a doctorate degree and came to Houston, Clyde Owen Jackson, who we were talking about earlier, speak his name also, came to my office. I didn't know who he was, and he had been dispatched apparently to speak to me about becoming involved with the Opera Guild because I was kind of like the new kid in town at that time. And I did, and that led me on this long odyssey now of going towards 30 years of being involved with the Opera Guild, singing as a soloist in the opera and in the concerts, being on the advisory board, and being a program director, and for this last more than a decade as the artistic director.
Wow. Now, you got to tell me this part. You said this. See, I didn't hear this part before. But what was it like going from a small town in Louisiana, kind of small town?
Medium sized. It's the
Medium-sized
second largest city in Louisiana. The first largest one
New York
being
City.
Well, well, I won't say anything about my hometown. It's a great place to grow up.
No, which is what we're gonna give it a shout out. That hometown was what?
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Okay, Baton Rouge.
Great.
Shout out to Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
It's a great city.
Yes.
But I did used to joke when I left New York City and went to Montgomery, Alabama to teach at Alabama State University. I would say it was like going from the
Alabama.
from
Yeah.
the sublime to the ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry,
Oh, yeah.
Alabama people, but
No shade for Alabama.
No.
No shade for Alabama. Love Alabama. But I knew it had to be kind of a culture shock because I know what New York is like now because my sister left art school and went to New York for a few years and lived. And I loved visiting there, but I'll tell you, it was like a nice de-stressor to get off that plane and be back in
But you
Houston.
know what, though? And this is true, and I think about it now that I'm in a certain generation that I didn't used to be in. It's important to find mentors.
Yes.
And when I went to New York, the great American soprano, African American soprano, Adele Addison, heard my audition,
Right.
and she practically grabbed me at breaking auditions. And she will be 100 years old this summer.
Wow.
We still talk on the phone almost every week.
Yes.
And when I have a big life decision to make or something going, that's the first person I call
Yes.
to talk to. So although New York was a big city, I remember many times I sat at her dinner table with her and her husband Noam, who was gone on now, and talking about all kinds of things. She helped me in all kinds of ways, not only with her mentorship and her love, but financially and so forth as I needed over the years.
Right.
You have to find those mentors.
That's so important. So important. So Ashton, is your story that remarkable? You got to get up and go to be that. Now, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you found your way to Houston and Texas Southern and being the conductor
Okay.
of the Ebony Opera Guild.
Okay. Well, I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay.
I started doing music.
Greenwood.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Black Rock. Yes. I started trying to learn how to play piano when I was 7.
Okay.
Playing by ear. And that's all I ever did. I tried to get lessons, but it didn't always work out.
Okay.
And so when I finished, I wasn't involved in school, music in school, unfortunately. I don't know why. I just
Even
wasn't.
through high school?
Mm-mm.
Really?
I just played at church. I
Wow.
was just a church musician.
Okay.
But I knew I wanted to go to school for music. It was something I always wanted to do, but
Okay.
didn't have the chance. And so, make a long story short, TSU was one of the schools I was looking at. I wanted to go to a black college,
Yes. Yes.
but I also wanted to be in a major city because I knew I would need to work. So,
Yeah.
I took out a whole lot of schools already. And so I came to TSU, and I knew I wanted to study music, but I didn't even know what careers look like. I didn't know anything. I just said, well, I'm just gonna go and figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So I was going for music ed. Came in as a pianist, and I remember seeing Dr. Obi. We were in the Sawyer, and anyways, they told us to go with certain people. We were majoring in music. Dr. Obi was standing there, and I went with him. He took me over to the music building. I followed him over there, and
Yeah.
he took me up, and I did my audition. And so anyways, I came in as a pianist.
Okay.
And so then I guess it gets involved with the singing gets involved. I was put in choir just to be full time.
Really?
I wasn't in choir. I wasn't enrolled in choir before.
Did you sing in church or you just played in church?
Yeah, they made me sing.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't always happy about that.
Okay.
But they made me sing in church, and I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, so
Okay.
Pentecostal.
Lots of music.
Yeah, lots of music.
Lots of music.
Yeah,
All
my
the
grandmother and them all played all by ear.
Yes.
So I got put in choir because I was missing 1 hour. I was like 11 hours, needed 1 hour. And so I got put in choir. And I just remember walking in. And the first thing I thought, I said, wow, we're going to sing. And there's no drums. This is my friend. There's no organ.
Where are the instruments?
Where are all the instruments? What are we getting ready to sing? You just don't know anything.
Right.
And I just remember that experience. I got put in the bass section. I was singing bass too. And I'm like, okay, so here we are. But I just remember singing. I think the first piece I remember we sang was this piece by Philip McIntyre called "That's How Good God Is."
Yes.
And I just remember being blown away singing a cappella because I'd never experienced that before.
Wow.
And so this was the time of exposure for me. And so anyway, long story short, I switched to. I was a little discouraged in piano, and I said, I'm gonna sing my way out this degree. And I tried to get the vocal program to get out the piano. Anyway, it didn't work. I ended up doing both, but
Yeah.
I finished in voice. And while I was at TSU, I enrolled in opera workshop later. And then I also sang my first role in Europe when I was 21. And actually,
Wow.
Dr. Obi, he helped fund that trip with so many other people who've been a pillar of support. And I got to go to
That
Bulgaria.
is awesome.
So it was really TSU that exposed me to opera and
Yeah, you got a
singing.
feeling to it.
Yeah, I didn't
Wow.
know anything about it, but I got there and, the faculty, Dr. Obi and we had Dr. Rock and those others. And,
Yes.
they exposed us. They took us from,
Wow.
we come in. I didn't know nothing.
Right.
But you get there and they pour into us.
Right.
And so after I graduated TSU, I went on to also Manhattan School of Music.
Wow.
And,
I wonder why.
went on to MSM
I have to say that. So he come back, you know, they remember you over there.
Well, yeah.
Like, you better recognize it.
Yes. Yeah, so I went on to New York. But before I got to New York, what other portion is there's two, our music building at TSU is named after two ladies who were very influential in the music history at TSU. And so, make a long story short, I was able to meet Miss Stewart.
Okay.
Me being born in 1995 and she born in 1916 was amazing for me. And so I met her in '99. I used to go to her house just about almost every Monday and have lunch with her.
Wow.
She expected me. But it was those times where she poured so much into me, all the way up to she passed when she was 101. So for almost 2 years, I was able to just sit up on it and soak in history and knowledge. And of course, I take beatings too, because if I said something, if I was trying to read some Italian, it was wrong, she'd correct me with
Yeah.
fuss, right?
Yes.
And so anyway, go on to New York and went to study there, and then went on to, well, I'm finishing my doctorate this May at University of Missouri, Kansas City Conservatory in the
Okay.
US, and still doing the conducting. And so kind of how I got into the Guild. Of course, I was asked, and of course I said yes. But when I was at TSU, I used to come and sing with the Guild.
That is
young, and I was happy
awesome.
to
Yes.
just fill in. Dr. Obi would ask some of us to go, and we go. We call us and we go. So
And I'm making, there's a common thread here. So if you become involved in opera, you live a long time.
is that right?
That's,
Well,
now, how old is your mentor that you talk to still?
She'll be 100 in July.
Okay. And your mentor was how?
Stewart died at 101. In
Okay.
2018, she passed.
Is it too late to get involved in opera?
We'll give you an audition. We'll give you an audition.
I know. It is not. It is not. But I was noticing that common thread there. That's an amazing story. And you all have that connection for what is it? The New York
I guess it's New
Conservatory.
York. It's
Manhattan.
Manhattan.
School of Music.
Manhattan School of Music. Awesome. And that brings us around to Miss Jasmine. So Jasmine, tell us a little bit about how were you raised enjoying and performing opera?
I was also raised Kojic, so
Okay. Lots of music.
but my grandfather was very like, we don't need the instruments, cut them out. We'll all voices.
Yes.
After and he would be like, come up here.
And the culture.
Jasmine's gonna sing. he was like, the worship doesn't always have to be driven by the instruments.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
But I grew up singing gospel. I was introduced to classical music for the first time in high school
Okay.
with like URL.
Yeah. UIL. Yes.
UIL. And I was actually the only person from my high school my senior year to get to go off to
Wow.
Allstate in Atlanta. I'm from
Wow. From Georgia. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of my friends went with me, and they went and had a good time while I went to rehearsal. But
Yeah.
it was a good experience.
Yes.
So I got to Spelman. That's where I went to college for undergrad, and I was a major in psychology. And at the introductory meeting, I fell asleep in front of the chair, and I was like,
Oh no. No, that's depression. Okay.
where this is for me.
Yes.
So I went and found the music department, of course, and I met the chair of the music department, Dr. Kevin Johnson at the time.
Okay.
And he was really cool, and he was like, yeah, I'll audition, just like kind of see how it works out.
Right.
And after my audition, I was like, yeah, I want to do this, change my major.
Awesome.
So my teacher, her name was Pamela Dillard.
Oh, was she related to me? Okay. I don't know. Perhaps. Yeah.
She was like, I think you can really do this. Like,
Wow.
if you invest your time into it, I think you'll be able to. So she was kind of my first mentor
Right.
into classical music and opera.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
And how did you find your way to the Houston Ebony Opera?
So my cousin, Meltonia, has been singing with the Guild for years.
Really?
Yeah. And so when I moved to Texas, she was like, hey, there's this group, you should come sing with us.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, I'll try it out. And I came and I was like, yeah, I love it. I'll be here.
That's awesome. I love it because I have never heard any of the performers say that, oh, it just wasn't for me. When they become involved, so many people stay for years. that's a great testament to what the guild means to people.
Right.
Okay, so what is the theme of this Black History Month performance, and why was this theme selected?
So Ashton came up with the theme for this concert, and light, excuse me, beyond, no, excuse me, echo. That's not the concert. What did you tell me?
Echoes and New Horizons is the
Yeah.
theme. And so essentially, when I was putting this together, I was thinking about a lot of music. Even through my doctoral studies, we studied a lot of choral music.
Yeah.
I think about a lot of the music that was done, and of course, the music of African American composers. But now, me being a young guy, I'm thinking of all of that, so that's what echoes. But then there's all this newer music,
Yes.
people who are my age who are also still writing, still arranging.
Yeah.
And so I kind of wanted to infuse the two, where you have some of the things that we do know, and then here's some of the newer things that are being put out, because there are still people composing and arranging music.
Right.
So that's the way I came up with it, because there's some good stuff out there.
Yeah. And now this is the podcast third year. It's our third year of being involved with promoting the concert, and we have seen some wonderful performances, and I love the way that you all explain how you come up with your themes. That's really exciting. Tell me, and you know what, I'm going to kind of ask for more than one person to answer this question, but can you tell me how the soloists are chosen for this performance? Is there an audition process, or are individuals selected whose talents most closely match the selections of the performance?
I'll chime in. Now, when we have a guest person, I stay out of the decisions as much as possible, because I want it to be their artistic product.
Okay.
I only kind of step in when something goes a little bit too out of the way. In fact, I had a bad relationship with one guest conductor because I did exactly that. But,
It was out of the way, Dr. Obi.
but I think that the answer is both, as far as I'm concerned, because there's certain pieces and certain things that call for a certain kind of voice.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter how great a voice is, it may not be appropriate for a particular
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
And of course, then you have to be fair in your application. So, you have an idea, but you allow people to audition as you can.
Right.
So that would be my answer to it.
I agree. I would echo all of that. Yeah. I kind of just, and of course, coming in, especially as a guest, I like to do the auditions, kind of give them a chance to hear, kind of meet some of the singers. Because a lot of times when you're up in front, you don't always get to meet them and get to know them a little bit more intimately than you would. So, but yeah, I would say I have done auditions.
It's got to be kind of hard sometimes, because you got to hurt some people's feelings a little bit. Because everybody is saying, "Put me in, coach. Put me in, coach." You can't put everybody in.
That's true. That's true. It's not possible.
Yeah.
And you do have to make difficult decisions because the quality is what you want to make.
Right. Exactly.
And if there are, there's a balance. Because in a group like ours, we want to give opportunity as broadly as is appropriate, right?
Okay.
So, and that's changed over the years. What I mean by that is, I keep thinking of Clyde tonight, but Clyde was the kind of person who had come from this large choral tradition. He was studied at Tuskegee under Dawson.
Okay.
And, there's these big, huge choirs and this traditional kind of a sound and all of that.
Right.
And his desire, I gathered from the programs we put together and working with him over those early years, he wanted to give everybody opportunities.
Yeah.
Then, when I kind of came along, I'm like, well, yeah, everybody don't need no opportunities. Certain kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind of sensibility. It's that choral sensibility, more so than that kind of person who comes more from an operatic background.
I got you. Yeah.
Sensibility.
Right.
Both have value.
Absolutely.
And his way, I think, encouraged more people, because it is, and I had to learn over the years. And he was one of those people that taught me that if you don't share some opportunity, then you discourage the ones,
Right.
and
coming along. Yeah.
correct, and they may not want to continue. So you build a strong choir
Right.
by also getting people who can participate and so forth.
Okay.
And in this last few years, I've done that more. We have used fewer people who only come in to do solos, I mean, in the choral concerts. The
Okay.
opera is something different.
Right.
But, if there are choral things, I used to say, okay, I'm gonna get this person who's gonna come and sing that solo, get that person. And they were not people who were participating in the strength of the overall flow.
Okay.
So, that's something that I have grown and learned about.
Okay. Yeah.
So, there's value
Right.
in different ways of doing things.
Right.
And sometimes we are guided by what our backgrounds have been and what we have come to the situation.
Absolutely.
So I studied mostly uh, soloistically, and I studied choral conducting only on the doctoral level, right?
Okay.
So my ideas came from that solo background.
Okay.
To use Clyde as one example, he had come from where he really that choral tradition was his full makeup and sensibility.
Right. It makes sense. That was definitely something I'm not concerned, but interested. I wondered how people are selected. Every person may not be a star in every capacity.
Okay, we have recently gone through a complete change in our governmental structure, and we haven't seen the last of it. Much of these changes will affect the African American community very directly. So much of the purpose of the opera guild performances is to keep uplifting the morale of our community. Can we count on this upcoming performance to continue that tradition?
Well, I think so. I think we have to go back to the very important mission of the Guild. And if you read it, it has to do not only with allowing opportunities for African American singers, but also African American music and composers,
Yes.
and conductors. And really, what we're doing is carrying our tradition of culture. Um, and things are different now than they were in many positive ways in the whole general community.
Right.
Uh, and at the same time, we might go to the symphony and occasionally see an African American conductor, or they might occasionally have one selection on the program that's from an African American composer.
Right.
So we kind of shift that. Certainly the operatic side, we do general operas
Yes.
from the standard repertoire, but a part of our mission is also to uplift the traditions, not only spirituals, but classical music by African American composers,
Okay.
things that are of great value that may not be heard otherwise.
Okay.
That's a part of what we do. So this
Exactly.
program that Ashton has chosen, as he just articulately stated, has to do with uplifting these younger composers and also the traditional ones. So it's really something that's not only entertaining, but uplifting for the culture and very educational for the community as well.
Exactly. Now, this is what we've been waiting for. I know Rebecca and I have been waiting
That's
for
the
this.
same.
She's gonna tell us a little bit in a minute about how we can support the Houston Ebony Opera Guild and with all of the talents that may be out there in a supportive capacity.
I'm glad you keep saying affirm that.
That's
So
right.
support
That's
it.
right. All of us aren't singers.
You have to
We're not.
understand what your ministry is.
That's right. That's right. That's right. But a little bird told us, a little operatic bird told us that we may get a little bit of a sneak peek at what we may hear at the concert this year. Am I right?
Yes.
So who's going to treat us? Yes, Jasmine is going to treat us. Awesome. You don't have to give them a whole lot, Jasmine. Give them enough so that they are excited about coming out and hearing the Guild in person. And then Patricia is going to tell us a little bit about how we can get involved and where everything's going to be taking place, how much tickets are, all that good stuff.
Okay, cool.
Ms. Jasmine Washington. Go ahead and stand up, but let's make sure you're still in the shot.
Okay.
Okay, absolutely. Perfect. Perfection. Yes.
Where's this for this stuff? Because this was spotlight.
Yes.
All right. Especially do I believe in the Negro
Awesome. Awesome. We got to get that applause track in here. We got to, because that just didn't give justice to what you just performed.
Oh my God, her voice is so beautiful.
Absolutely. So, coming to the part that everybody wants to hear about, Miss Patricia Gregory is in the. Tell us exactly the name. The Guild, which is the Friends.
Friends of Christian Ebony Opera Guild,
Okay.
and we are the support group.
Okay. And what does the support group do?
Well, when there's a performance, but first, the African American Music Gala is the performance that we support wholly,
Okay.
and we are responsible for ticket sales,
Okay.
raising funds, other ways that we can, getting people to volunteer to usher,
Exactly.
to work the day of the concert. We need people to sell tickets. There will be people who have paid for their tickets, and the people will just leave them there so they
Will call. Yes.
Yes, we have will call. And basically, we will do whatever we are asked to do on that day.
Right. Now, speaking of the event this year, tell us a little bit about where it's going to be taking place and when and how much tickets are, because we know that to support the Houston Ebony Opera Guild, we all love to do things for people and we love to be able to volunteer, but it takes funds to keep something like the Opera Guild alive.
Always. And that sometimes people don't understand
Yeah,
that it just doesn't happen
right.
magically.
Absolutely.
The tickets are $35 per person.
Okay.
You can be a patron, and be a patron at $50 or $100 plus.
Okay.
With the $50 patron, you get one ticket. $100 patron, it's two tickets.
Okay.
But the main thing is to get people to come and to hear the singers. So that means we've got to get out there and be delicious.
Yes.
Our friends, our relatives, just anybody who we know who we think would be interested in hearing them, or we think they need to hear.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And you know what, Patricia, I want to say this, and you know, just in the past month, we have heard so much about how things are going to change governmentally in the way that different celebrations of culture are celebrated, and that it's not going to be the kind of thing that's widespread governmentally like it's been before, in recognition of different cultures. So it is paramount that organizations like the Opera Guild is really pushed forward now by the community, so that we don't lose that. I can tell you, from sitting in a middle school classroom, she can tell you from sitting in a middle school classroom that so many times our students are just not exposed to certain things. And this year, we have a principal at my school who is very, very open to allowing um, um, visitors in, who will expose our kids to something and even sending our kids out. For a long time, I was at a school district where we couldn't take kids on field trips anymore.
I'm still in that school.
Yeah, we couldn't do it. You know, and I came from, when I was in school, we looked forward to field trips, one in the spring and one in the fall, and that was just not the case anymore. But now, we, you know, it's a different sound, and it's going to be up to the community to push forth things that have to do with culture.
and I think sometimes too, it will be good if lay people will go out and talk to
Yes,
groups, because you know you need to tell them how beneficial it is to hear something that they're not used to hearing.
absolutely, absolutely.
So if viewers would like to reach out to you for more information on volunteer opportunities, how may they do so?
Um, First, you can contact our I'm trying to think of which person would be the best one.
Well, is there a number or social media that they could reach out to?
We don't have a particular number, but I can give you my number.
Well, how about the Facebook page?
Yeah, I think that it's still driven
They
by
still have
the
that?
Facebook
Yeah.
page,
Okay.
and that there's a PO box, and there's also a phone number.
Okay.
The issue is how often is that voicemail checked?
Okay.
Yeah,
But
I'm not sure. It's
Because people will want to reach out, but what we can do is this: if they reach out to us, we can make sure that we post along with the video a way that we can that they can reach out and make contact with you. And since I'm seeing so many new and young faces in the guild now, and even in performances, younger people, they love social media. y'all gotta get a couple of those young people to just start. And I'm gonna tell you, I didn't believe how effective it was until, my of course my students tell me. Some of my students have 10,000 followers, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're only 13, you know? But that social media is really
well,
something.
we were joking as we were waiting to get started
Mhm.
about how, in my mind I'm 35, but in real life I'm not. I played 35 on TV, right?
Okay.
But the way they interact is so different than we used
Yes,
to.
it is.
So, but we do have the website, and there's a contact button, I think, on that. We're still
And
working.
we'll make sure we get all that for you.
And that was
Yes.
gonna be my next question. As the generations are coming up, how is the Ebony Opera Guild going to be? I don't want to say more appealing, but how can
Engaging them.
be more engaging of the younger generation? Because for me, like my first a real opera experience, because I will tell anybody, and I've told Crystal this a million times, I've told you a million times, that I could not stand the opera. I love the symphony, but I couldn't stand the opera. It wasn't until, because it just was, I don't want people.
Was it that you couldn't understand where
I
they?
couldn't understand it. People
Yeah.
were screaming while singing. It just did not appeal to me. It was
Okay.
just like, this is boring. I hate
I'll
this.
tell you what, one of
But
the jobs I had when I was a graduate student in New York City was I would tour New Jersey schools, talking to middle school kids and elementary school kids. The program was called I Hate Opera. So I just
I like that. That's
this whole
catchy.
presentation, I'd go and talk to them and say, is this sad or is this happy? Then I'd play something or I'd sing, does this lady sound happy or does she sound sad?
Or angry.
This whole and they'd say, the kids are funny.
Yeah,
They do all
yeah.
kinds of funny things. But it's kind of like that. And that's a part of the void that the Ebony Opera Guild fills. As Ashton was saying, it's not just 19th century and 18th century things that were written with people in some funny costumes and white wigs, as you said, to holler at you. A lot of things are in English, they're on contemporary topics. They're doing all kinds of things that would be more appealing to you.
But what I was getting ready to say was, my mom had gotten tickets to the Ebony Opera Guild, and she was like, "Hey, I got you an extra ticket." I was like, "Hey, you can keep it. I'm not gonna." So she was like, "No, I got these tickets. You're going."
Okay.
That was not me asking. That was
Well,
you're going.
thank you.
That's right.
So, and I was grown. I was like,
Fuck her. But still, mama is mama.
right,
That's right.
exactly.
Don't tell her no.
So I heard about the Houston Ebony Opera Guild at Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church, and of course, my attitude was a little jacked up because I don't want to be there.
You were what, 14?
No, I was 27.
I'm sorry. I thought you were a little kid.
No, I
Okay.
was 27. But when I heard you guys, and I heard, because it was Black History Month, and when I heard you all, like, I was at the edge of my seat the entire show. Like the Paul Robeson, and I still can remember. I'm 41 now, and I can still remember the show. Like y'all did Paul Robeson, and y'all did, and it was just like it opened.
So I do want to say, just as a matter of educating everybody, just to be clear, you know, we are called the Houston Ebony Opera Guild. But this concert, the African American Music Gala, will not have any opera on it
Right.
because our mission is so broad. It includes the spirituals, it includes other kinds of classically trained voice associated music.
Mhm.
But our founder, in his wisdom, I came here in 1996 in the late summer and fall. He died in that same spring before I arrived.
Okay.
So I did not have the opportunity to know him. I knew people who did know him. So I understand that that title was his invention,
Yeah.
but it does not really accurately describe everything that we do.
Okay.
So, you know, we'll be doing a concert in April that will be half an opera, and the other half will be concert music. We did an operatic scenes concert back in the fall. So opera is a part of what we do.
Okay.
Opera, being staged and singing through a story and all that stuff that opera is. And we also do spirituals and we do other things, primarily those things that are uplifting African American music and culture.
Okay.
I think the reason why he gave the organization that name is because he wanted people to know that we can do this also.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
So we want to be included in every kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an amazing show. It was an absolutely amazing show, like from start to finish. Like I enjoyed it. And then I've gone back a couple of more times since then. But it was because of you all I gained a new appreciation for opera, because otherwise I wouldn't have had it.
That's fantastic.
Yes. And not only that, if it had been her mom, she would have rallied against it. If it had simply been a friend, she would have said, I'm sorry, I'm not going. But I'm going to put Dr. Obi on the spot a little bit. I didn't tell him I was going to do this, but we've spoken about this before. And I'm going to throw it out there again because I think that perhaps maybe in the next couple of years, it's something that may be of interest to Dr. Obi and the Guild. But I remember when I was coming along and in the summertime, my mother was looking for something for us to do, to be involved in. You know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Mm-mm.
Yes, you do. And you see all types of summer programs for kids now that are 3-week, 2-week, 4-week programs where those kids pay a certain fee, $350, $400, whatever dollars, and they go from 8 to 12 or whatever, and they learn the craft of professionals in a certain setting.
Yeah.
I think it would be wonderful
Well,
to have an opera summer camp.
I think it would be a wonderful idea too. That's something that we talked about a lot when Mary was alive.
Yes.
And, you know, we talked about it. We had a little committee that kind of talked about it and how we do it and what would include.
Right.
But it never quite got off the ground.
Yeah.
So, you know, I appreciate the input and I think that maybe someone should take up that
There again, fundraising.
fundraising.
Well, see, that's a fundraiser.
That will be a
That is
yeah.
that's a part of
First
fundraising.
you need fundraising in order to get it started. And then when the kids pay to attend, then there will be more funds coming in that
Well,
we can use to keep it going.
absolutely, absolutely. Because parents, I'm telling you, because I hear the parents and I see them talking and I see them
Well, they're
rallying to try to
for
get
the summertime.
yeah, they're trying to get these kids into something.
I think that some of you all who are working in the middle schools and know how the things work and how to network and to get those things going, that would be an excellent volunteer opportunity and
Yeah.
maybe a sort of a professional opportunity for
Absolutely.
someone to kind of help get that kind of thing off the ground. The next piece, as Pat was saying, was, you know, funding is so important for everything, and everything that we're talking about, even this program we've got coming up in
Right.
April at the Hobby Center, even with support from the Hobby Center, things are quite expensive.
Right.
And everything that looks